dressed women of the entire first half of 2026. Take a good look. So starting us off at number 30, we have the actress Zoe Deutsch. And for the Golden Globes 2026, she had on this white silk Georgette plissé gown by Prada, featuring a deep teardrop neckline that led into a crystal-embroidered peplum with glass fringe detailing, finished off with satin platform sand also by Prada, and Boucheron diamond jewels. And on paper, this should have worked. I mean, Prada is Prada, and the Art Deco inspiration behind this dress was genuinely interesting on the runway. But somewhere between the sketch and the fitting room, something went wrong. This dress looked like it was made for a different body than the one wearing it that night. The beading and the peplum just created this very sloppy, shapeless silhouette that did her absolutely no favors. Now, I want to be clear, this is not a Zoe problem. This is a fit problem. And it is one of the most frustrating kinds of fashion misses, because you can see the vision, you can see what they were going for, and it just did not land. The proportions felt off from the shoulder all the way down, and instead of looking architectural, it just looked awkward. I also think the choice to keep the styling so minimal around this particular gown worked against her here, because a dress with this much going on texturally really needed a stronger hair and jewelry moment to balance it all out, and instead, everything just kind of blended into one another. Even the satin platform sandals, gorgeous as they were on their own, got completely lost under all that fringe. This is the kind of look that probably read as a total win in the fitting room mirror, under soft lighting, standing still, and then just fell apart the second she had to actually move and pose under 100 flashing cameras, which is exactly the moment a dress like this needed to hold together and simply did not. So, for this look, it's a flop for me. Coming in at number 29, we have Leighton Meester. And for the Golden Globes 2026, she had on a strapless column gown by Miu Miu, hand-embroidered with light yellow paillettes and crystals, paired with Kendra Scott fine jewelry, attending alongside her husband Adam Brody. Now here is the thing about Leighton. She has built an entire reputation as a bona fide style icon. We are talking Gossip Girl era, we are talking magazine cover era. So expectations were high walking into this one. And unfortunately, this dress just did not clear the bar. The pale yellow paillette detailing, which should have been the statement piece of this whole look, just read as strange rather than intentional under the bright flash photography. It did not catch the light the way you would want a focal point to catch the light, and instead it kind of just sat there, dulling down what could have been a much more elevated moment. The column silhouette itself was fine. It was clean, but fine is not what we come to Leighton Meester for. This dress felt like a placeholder, like something she grabbed because the real dress fell through. What makes it sting even more is that Leighton has genuinely delivered show-stopping red carpet moments before. So when a look this quiet shows up under her name, it inevitably gets compared to her own personal best, and it just cannot compete. Her hair and makeup were lovely, understated in a good way, but that only made the dress itself feel even more like an afterthought by comparison. There is a version of this exact silhouette in a bolder color, or with a more interesting neckline treatment that could have genuinely worked. But as it stood, it just felt like a safe choice from a woman who has never needed to play it safe on a carpet before. And that gap between what she is capable of and what actually showed up that night is exactly why this one stings. And so, for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 28, we have Ginnifer Goodwin. And for the Golden Globes 2026, she stepped out in a heavily sparkled gown by Armani Privé that, on the surface, sounds like it should be a win. I mean, who does not love a sparkly dress? But execution matters, and this is a case where more was simply not more. The sparkle on this sheer, heavily embellished gown was so dense and uniform across the entire silhouette that it actually flattened her out rather than adding dimension. Instead of catching light in interesting ways as she moved down the carpet, it just kind of blurred together into one shiny mass. Fans online were largely unimpressed, and honestly, I get it. There was no distinct shape to hold on to here, no clear waistline moment, no strategic placement of embellishment to draw the eye somewhere specific. It just read as a lot of shine with not a lot of intention behind it. And when a dress this sparkly still manages to feel forgettable, that is a real problem, because sparkle is supposed to be the easy win. The thing you reach for when you want a guaranteed moment on the carpet. To watch it fall flat, despite all that embellishment tells you, the issue was never the amount of shine, it was the lack of a real silhouette underneath all of it. A little more structure, a defined waistline, anything to break up the uniformity, and this dress could have been a genuine contender for best dressed instead of landing here. Her hair was styled beautifully, soft and romantic, but even great hair and makeup can only do so much heavy lifting when the dress itself is not giving the camera anything specific to focus on. So for this look, it's a flop for me. Up next, at number 27, we have Brittany Snow, and for the Golden Globes 2026, she had on this strapless gown in a pearl-hued silk wool twill by bridal designer Danielle Frankel, featuring trapunto stitching around the wide hem, and she paired it with diamond earrings and a diamond ring by Effie Jewelry. Now, I actually understand the appeal of this dress in theory. The pearl tone is elegant, the trapunto stitching is a nice technical touch, and Brittany was one of the earliest arrivals of the night, essentially kicking off the entire white dress trend that dominated the carpet. But being first does not mean being best. And this dress, unfortunately, just landed on more than one worst-dressed list by the time the night wrapped. The silhouette felt bridal in a way that read more literal than elegant for an awards show. And the wide hem detailing, while technically impressive, added bulk in a spot that did not need it. It is the kind of dress that would photograph beautifully in a lookbook, and then somehow lose all of its magic the second it hit the red carpet. There is also something to be said about timing here, because being the very first major arrival of the night means every single outlet is watching closely, comparing your look against everyone who walks the carpet after you. And unfortunately for Brittany, this dress simply did not hold up under that kind of scrutiny. The trapunto stitching, while a lovely technical detail up close, barely registered from a distance, which meant most people watching at home just saw a slightly bulky white dress and moved right along. And in a season where white and cream gowns absolutely dominated the carpet, being the first to arrive in that color palette meant she needed something truly distinctive to stand out from everyone who followed her down the carpet in similar tones. And unfortunately, this dress just did not have that extra edge. So for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 26, we have Amy Lou Wood, and for the Golden Globes 2026, she had on this black ball gown by Vivienne Westwood, featuring an asymmetrical neckline and a dramatic, corseted full skirt, styled by Felicity Kay with David Yurman jewels. Now look, I adore Amy. Her energy is unmatched. Her free spirit is exactly why we love watching her on a red carpet in the first place. But this dress just swallowed her whole. It was described as too overwhelming and too somber for her. And honestly, that is exactly right. The volume of this skirt combined with the heaviness of the black fabric created this gothic, almost funereal energy that clashed completely with everything we know and love about her as a personality. A dress should amplify who you are, not bury it. And this one did the opposite. The asymmetrical neckline, which could have been a fun, playful detail, got completely lost under the sheer weight of the rest of the garment. Even her hair and makeup, which fans genuinely loved, could not pull enough attention away from just how much dress there was to contend with. And by the time she made it down the full length of the carpet, the sheer scale of the skirt had completely taken over every photograph. And that is really the core issue here. A great red carpet look should feel effortless, even when it is incredibly complex underneath, and this one, unfortunately, wore its effort on its sleeve. Quite literally. It looked heavy because it was heavy, and that heaviness translated directly onto camera. So, for this look, it's a flop for me. At number 25, we have the viral sensation Hailey Bailey, also known as Hailey Khalil, and for the Golden Globes 2026, she had on this glittery, jewel-toned gown by Mark Bauer, featuring a dropped waist and a bold, statement neckline, which she described as bringing Bridgerton couture to the red carpet. Now, I love a big swing, I really do, and Hailey clearly wanted this dress to be a moment. But sometimes a big swing is still a miss, and this was one of those times. The dropped waist hit at an unflattering point. The bedazzling across the bodice felt scattered rather than deliberate, and the overall shape leaned more costume than couture. It genuinely gave off Disney villain energy, more Maleficent than Bridgerton, and while I respect the ambition alone does not make a dress work. Paired with some rather dramatic accessorizing, the whole look tipped over from daring into something that felt more like cosplay than red carpet fashion. She actually brought a second look to the after-party that night, a jewel-toned Carolina Herrera piece, and honestly, that one worked far better than this one did. Which almost makes this Mark Bauer moment more frustrating in hindsight, because we know she has the eye for a great gown. This particular one just was not it. So for this one, it's a flop for me. Coming in at number 24, we have the comedian Ali Wong. And for the Grammys 2026, marking her first major red carpet appearance after her split, she had on a custom liquid sequin corset gown in deep green by Vivienne Westwood featuring a dramatic floor-length train, styled with statement gold jewelry and a 1960s-inspired half-updo. Now, I want to acknowledge, stepping out for your first big public appearance after a breakup takes guts. And I respect that. But this dress just was not it. The stiff, liquid sequin finish, while eye-catching under the lights, did not do the corset silhouette any favors, creating a heavy, almost armor-like quality that fought against her natural shape rather than working with it. The color was a genuinely great choice for her. I will give it that, but the construction let the whole thing down. It is not the first time Ali's red carpet styling has landed on a worst-dressed list, and at some point, we have to start asking questions about the team behind these choices. The floor-length train should have been the show-stopping element of this entire outfit, but because the bodice was working so hard to hold its rigid shape, the train just ended up dragging behind her rather than flowing the way a great train is supposed to. It is a shame too, because underneath all of that structure, there is a genuinely great color choice being wasted. And the 1960s-inspired half-updo she paired it with actually showed real thought went into the overall styling concept, even if the gown itself could not quite deliver on that same level. So for this look, it's a flop for me. At number 23, we have the actress Auli'i Cravalho, and for the Oscars 2026, she had on this dramatic sage green ball gown by Antonio Maras, featuring sculpted rosette details across the bodice and a voluminous, structured proscenium skirt. Now, on a mood board, I understand exactly what they were going for here. Couture fantasy, floral romance, a real fairy tale moment. But in execution, the exaggerated proportions of those rosettes completely overwhelmed her small frame. Instead of looking like she was wearing the dress, it genuinely looked like the dress was wearing her. And for a young actress still very much establishing her own red carpet identity, being visually overtaken by the garment itself is not the kind of headline you want to walk away with. The voluminous proscenium skirt added so much additional volume that her upper body got lost entirely in the sea of fabric, and what should have read as ethereal instead read as costume-heavy. This is such a classic red carpet trap, where a look that seems stunning on a mannequin or on a runway model simply does not translate once it meets a real person's proportions on an actual event floor. It also did not help that the soft green tone she chose blended in almost too well with the muted trends that dominated a huge portion of this year's Oscars carpet. So even without the proportion issue, this dress was already fighting an uphill battle just to stand out. Given that this was a major red carpet moment for a young star still building her fashion identity, I really hope her team takes a different approach next time. So for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 22, we have the author and screenwriter Maggie O'Farrell. And for the Oscars 2026, she showed up in a vibrant 1980s-inspired hot pink satin gown, featuring a ruched silhouette and a dramatic cape effect, which she accessorized with a thick black belt, black lace gloves, a statement black pendant necklace, and a black lace mesh veil across her face. Now listen, I love a bold concept, and there is nothing wrong with wanting to have fun on a red carpet. But this felt like 3 or 4 different ideas thrown into a blender. The retro pink satin, the caped drama, the funeral-adjacent veil, none of which were speaking the same language. The Barbie pink satin alone might have worked as a statement piece. The cape might have worked. The veil on its own might have even worked somewhere else entirely. But combined, on an Oscars carpet that generally rewards a cleaner, more cohesive vision, this just felt chaotic and, frankly, a little bit costume party. The black lace mesh veil in particular was the piece that pushed this look over the edge for me, because it obscured her expression at the exact moments photographers most wanted to capture it. And it introduced a somber, almost mourning-adjacent note into what was otherwise trying to be a fun, retro, hot pink moment. So for this look, it's a flop for me. At number 21, we have the Grammy-nominated singer Brittany Howard. And for the Oscars 2026, she showed up in a bold ensemble that, unfortunately, tipped over into unpleasant territory rather than daring territory. Now, Brittany has never been afraid to take risks on a red carpet, and normally, I am here for that energy completely. But there is a difference between a calculated risk and a look that just does not come together, and this one fell into the second category. The proportions felt unbalanced, the color story did not do her any favors under the Oscars lighting, and the overall silhouette read as more confusing than confident. This is the tricky thing about being a known fashion risk-taker. When it works, you get remembered forever, but when it does not work, it gets remembered too, just for very different reasons. What frustrates me most about this one is that Brittany clearly has the confidence and the presence to carry off an experimental look. She has proven that time and time again. But confidence alone cannot fix a garment that simply is not constructed to move with your body the right way under bright lights. So, for this one, it's a flop for me. Alright, before we keep going, this feels like a great spot to pause for a second. If you are enjoying this list so far, and let's be honest, we have not even gotten to the real disasters yet, do me a favor and drop a comment letting me know who your worst-dressed pick has been so far. Also, if you have not already, hit that subscribe button because trust me, you do not want to miss what is coming in the next 15 entries. We are about to head into the Met Gala portion of this list, and let me just say, fashion is art. Apparently meant very different things to very different people this year, and not everyone's interpretation landed the way they thought it would. Okay, back to the countdown. At number 20, we have the rapper Doechii. And for the Grammys 2026, where she was nominated for 5 awards, she had on this custom royal purple silk duchess skirt by Roberto Cavalli, constructed with a waist-trainer corset, paired with a strappy burnt orange silk top, finished off with a dramatic 13-foot train embellished with ruched details and beaded embroidery. Now, Doechii is one of the most consistently interesting dressers working the carpet right now, and I want to give her credit for that. But this particular look just did not fit her the way it needed to. The corset skirt sat awkwardly at the waist, creating an ill-fitting, almost prom dress quality that undercut all of the intricate craftsmanship happening in that 13-foot train. And that is the real shame of it, because the detail work here was genuinely impressive. The ruching, the embroidery, the sheer scale of the thing. But none of it mattered, because the fit at the top half of the garment just was not doing her any favors. And that is really the heartbreak of this whole look. Because when you have craftsmanship at this level, a 13-foot train with hand embroidery does not happen overnight. You want the entire silhouette to rise to meet it. Instead, the eye kept getting pulled back up to that awkward corset fit, and no amount of incredible embroidery trailing behind her could fully make up for that. Doechii has talked openly about how much thought and personal storytelling goes into her fashion choices these days, which makes it even more disappointing when a look this conceptually rich gets undercut by something as fundamental as a fit issue at the bodice, the kind of thing a single extra fitting session could have caught before it ever reached the carpet. So, for this look, it's a flop for me. At number 19, we have the director Chloe Zhao. And for the Oscars 2026, currently in the spotlight for her latest project, she had on this black ruffled gown by Gabriella Hearst, featuring dramatic sweeping bell sleeves. Now, I need you to picture this with me for a second, because online, This dress had people asking one question over and over again: is she going to a funeral? And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The heavy black ruffling, combined with those oversized sleeves, created a morning wear silhouette that felt entirely disconnected from the celebratory energy of an Oscars carpet. I understand the appeal of a dramatic Gothic moment, and in a different context, this dress could genuinely work. But on this carpet, on this night, surrounded by golden statuettes and celebratory energy, it just felt like the wrong tone entirely. Fans wished she had left this particular gown in the fitting room, and honestly, so do I. Those bell sleeves alone were doing so much work that they threw off the entire proportion of the silhouette, adding volume in a spot that made her frame look smaller and almost swallowed, rather than commanding the room the way a director of her stature deserves to on a night this significant. Sometimes the most powerful thing a red carpet look can do is commit fully to one clear idea. And while the Gothic drama here was certainly committed to, it just was not the right idea for this particular room. So, for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 18, we have Kylie Jenner. And for the Met Gala 2026, themed Fashion is Art with the dress code Costume is Art, she had on this custom Schiaparelli gown by Daniel Roseberry, featuring a rigid brown corset toile bustier bodice and a voluminous butter duchess satin skirt, paired with bleached eyebrows. Now technically, this dress checked every box for the theme. It referenced classical sculpture, it had incredible craftsmanship, the draping alone probably took an army of seamstresses. But here is my issue. We have seen some version of this Kylie Jenner Met Gala look before. The sculptural bodice, the neutral tone, the artfully undone quality, it all felt like a variation on a theme she has worn to this exact event multiple times now. When your job on this particular carpet is creativity, showing up in a beautifully executed but familiar silhouette just does not hit the same way. It is gorgeous. Do not get me wrong, but gorgeous and boring are not mutually exclusive. And unfortunately, this landed in that overlap. The bleached brows were a nice touch that added a bit of otherworldly statue-like quality to her overall glam. And I did appreciate that detail. But a strong beauty moment cannot single-handedly rescue a gown silhouette we have essentially already seen from her before. On a night that rewards surprise above almost anything else, familiarity, even beautifully executed familiarity, is exactly the wrong note to hit. So for this look, it's a flop for me. At number 17, we have Karlie Kloss. And for the Met Gala 2026, she had on a sophisticated, sleek gown by Dior. Now on any other red carpet, this dress would probably do very well. It is clean, it is elegant, the tailoring is impeccable because it is Dior. Of course it is impeccable. But the Met Gala is not any other red carpet. This is the one night a year when the entire industry expects, even demands, a full creative swing tied to a specific theme. And a simple, sophisticated gown, no matter how well made, just reads as underdressed for the assignment when everyone else around you is referencing sculptures and paintings and pushing every boundary they can find. Karlie has given us incredible Met Gala moments in the past, which almost makes this one sting more. It is not a bad dress, it is just the wrong dress for this specific room on this specific night. Even her hair and makeup leaned polished and pretty rather than conceptual, which only reinforced the overall sense that this was a beautiful, red carpet-ready look, built for the wrong red carpet entirely. Save this dress for a premiere, save it for an award show, and it probably lands near the top of a best-dressed list instead of down here, which is really the heart of the problem. A great dress in the wrong context can still land you a spot on a list like this one. So for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 16, we have Sarah Pidgeon. And for the Met Gala 2026, she had on a gown where the color and silhouette combination simply did not do her any favors. Now, Sarah has had a genuinely great year style-wise, especially with her Carolyn Bessette Kennedy-inspired press run, bringing a whole new wave of attention to her red carpet choices. But this Met Gala look felt like a rare miss in an otherwise strong run. The color felt slightly off against her skin tone, and the silhouette, rather than skimming her frame the way you would want on a night this photographed, created some awkward proportions around the midsection. It is the kind of dress that could have been genuinely flattering, with a few small adjustments, a different neckline, a different waist placement. But as it stood on the carpet that night, it just felt like a slightly unfinished idea. What makes this one particularly frustrating is the timing, because Sarah has been on such a fashion hot streak lately that expectations for her have shot up dramatically, and a dress that would have flown under the radar for almost anyone else instead got picked apart specifically because we all know she is capable of so much more. So for this look, it's a flop for me. Okay, we have officially hit the halfway point of this list, which means it is time for our midpoint check-in. If you are still here, first of all, thank you. I appreciate you sticking around for this much fashion judgment. Second of all, this is exactly the moment where I need you to smash that subscribe button if you have not already, because I promise you, the second half of this list gets significantly messier. We are talking full-blown fashion emergencies coming up. So subscribe now, drop a comment telling me if you agree with the list so far, and let's keep going, because it only gets spicier from here. We are about to move through the back half of the Met Gala looks into Cannes, and finish with what I genuinely believe is one of the most talked about fashion disasters of the entire year. So buckle up. At number 15, we have Margot Robbie. And for the Met Gala 2026, she had on a form-fitting dress that, while technically well-made, brought absolutely zero drama to a night that is built entirely around drama. Now, here's the thing about Margot. She is one of the most bankable, most photographed actresses working today, and after a movie that made over $1 billion at the box office, maybe she felt like she had earned a night off from taking fashion risks. But the Met Gala does not really work that way. This dress had no color story, no textural interest, nothing that made you stop scrolling when it hit your feed. A form-fitting silhouette on a normal Tuesday night out is perfectly lovely. On the single biggest fashion night of the year, it just reads as a missed opportunity. Even the accessories felt like they were playing it safe. Nothing bold enough to give the eye somewhere interesting to land, and nothing that referenced the theme in even the smallest way. Margot is one of the most stylish women working today, which is exactly why a look this quiet from her felt so noticeably out of character. So for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 14, we have Carey Mulligan, and for the Met Gala 2026, she stepped out in a look that, much like several of her fellow attendees this year, simply did not rise to meet the assignment. The dress code asked for bold artistic interpretation, and what we got instead was safe, predictable, and forgettable. There was nothing technically wrong with the construction of this gown. The tailoring was fine, the fit was fine, but fine, once again, is the enemy of memorable on a carpet like this one. When you are surrounded by sculptural bodices and painted brushstrokes and gowns inspired by actual museum pieces, a quietly pretty dress just gets swallowed up in the crowd. It is the fashion equivalent of whispering in a room full of people shouting, and unfortunately, nobody was listening. Carey has such a natural, elegant presence that she can genuinely make even a simple dress feel special on the right night. But the Met Gala specifically demands a concept, a story, something you can point to and say, here's what this represents. Without that anchor, even a beautifully made gown just reads as a missed swing. So for this look, it's a flop for me. At number 13, we have Suki Waterhouse. And for the Met Gala 2026, she also landed on the wrong side of the worst-dressed conversation, with a look that leaned far too safe for a night built on spectacle. Suki has genuinely surprised us before with some interesting styling choices, so this one felt like a step backward. The silhouette played it extremely conservative, and while there is nothing inherently wrong with restraint at the Met Gala without any accompanying artistic concept just reads as a missed brief. There was no clear connection to the fashion is art theme, nothing that told a story or referenced anything specific, and on a carpet where every single other look is being dissected for symbolism and meaning, showing up without one puts you at an immediate disadvantage. She has shown up in genuinely inventive looks on other carpets before, which is why this particular choice felt like such a strange one to make for the single most theme-driven event on the entire calendar. Restraint has its place, but this was not the night for it. And the missed opportunity feels even bigger when you consider just how many other attendees managed to find a genuinely clever personal way to interpret the same theme without sacrificing their own comfort or personal taste in the process. So, for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 12, we have Ashley Graham. And for the Met Gala 2026, she showed up in a look that critics widely described as underwhelming, failing to deliver the kind of moment we have come to expect from her on this specific carpet. Ashley has built her entire red carpet reputation on confidence and boldness, so an underwhelming look from her genuinely stands out more than it would from almost anyone else. The dress itself was not offensive by any means, but it lacked the personality and the punch that we know she is capable of. On a night where the entire industry is watching for who understood the assignment, blending into the background is arguably worse than taking a swing and missing. Ashley has spent years advocating for bold, body-positive fashion moments on major carpets, so a look this muted from her felt like a genuinely missed chance to make a statement in front of one of the biggest audiences of the year. We know she has it in her, we have seen it before, and that is exactly why this one landed as such a disappointment. So for this look, it's a flop for me. At number 11, we have Heidi Klum, and for the Met Gala 2026, she had on this sculpted, prosthetic-enhanced ensemble created in collaboration with makeup artist Mike Marino, using manipulated latex and spandex to mirror the stillness of carved marble, inspired by the sculpture Veiled Vestal. Now, technically, this is one of the most ambitious looks on this entire list, and I want to acknowledge the craftsmanship involved here, because it is genuinely impressive. But ambitious and successful are two different things, and this one, unfortunately, tipped over into looking a little too on the nose. Heidi is known for going all out, especially around her annual Halloween event, and this look leaned so heavily into that same theatrical, costume-driven energy that it stopped reading as fashion and started reading as something closer to a haunted house exhibit. Inspired by the theme, sure, but a little too much so. There is a version of this concept that lives comfortably on a red carpet, and there is a version that belongs more in a special effects reel. And unfortunately, this one drifted closer to the latter by the time it actually hit the carpet under those bright lights. The craftsmanship deserves respect, genuinely, but craftsmanship and red carpet success are not always the same thing. So for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 10, we have Lena Dunham. And for the Met Gala 2026, she had on this bright red one-shoulder gown by Valentino, featuring dramatic red feathers veiling half of her face, taking inspiration from Baroque-era art with a blood splatter aesthetic in mind. Now, I want to be clear, the concept behind this dress is genuinely interesting, and I respect an artist trying to say something with their fashion choices. But execution is everything, and those feathers, positioned directly across half of her face, made the entire look nearly impossible to actually see and appreciate on the carpet. A dress should showcase the person wearing it. Instead, this dress obscured her, and no matter how thoughtful the concept was behind it, if your audience cannot even see your face, something in the execution went wrong. It genuinely felt like the dress was wearing her, rather than the other way around. The bright red color itself was a genuinely bold, correct choice for grabbing attention on a crowded carpet. And I do not want to take that away from her, but attention only works in your favor if people can actually engage with what they are looking at. And half a hidden face makes that a lot harder to do. A slightly shorter feather placement, just enough to still show her expression, could have completely changed how this whole look was received. So for this look, it's a flop for me. At number 9, we have the artist Amy Sherald. And for the Met Gala 2026, she had on a custom Tom Brown gown recreating her 2013 painting Miss Everything, Unsuppressed Deliverance, paired with a red pom-pom hat and a dachshund-shaped purse. Now, I have to give her credit for commitment to a concept. Taking your own artwork and translating it literally onto a red carpet gown is a genuinely creative idea, and it shows real thought. But the accessorizing here just tipped the whole thing over into something that read far more childlike than couture. The pom-pom hat and the novelty dog purse, while cute in isolation, undercut the sophistication of the gown itself. and left the overall look feeling more like a costume for a children's book character than a moment on fashion's biggest stage. I genuinely respect an artist staying true to her own body of work rather than chasing a trend for one night. And there is something admirable about that level of self-referential commitment. But red carpet fashion is still, at the end of the day, about visual impact packed in a single photograph. And the whimsical accessories here undercut a genuinely thoughtful concept that deserved a more elevated execution, one that could have honored the original painting without tipping quite so far into novelty territory with the hat and the purse. So, for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 8, we have Lauren Sanchez Bezos, and for the Met Gala 2026, as an honorary chair of the event, she had on a low-cut, figure-hugging blue gown by Schiaparelli. Now, does she look good in this dress? Genuinely, yes. But looking good is not actually the assignment here, and that is exactly the problem. This dress was tailored within an inch of its life, predictable, contrived, and honestly could have been worn to any red carpet, any gala, any event on the calendar without anyone batting an eye. For a woman serving as an honorary chair of the single most conceptually demanding fashion night of the year, showing up in a dress with zero connection to the theme is a genuine missed opportunity. We wanted daring. We wanted a real fashion statement. Instead, we got a beautiful, forgettable gown that told us absolutely nothing. As an honorary chair, there was a real opportunity here to set the tone for the entire evening, to show every other guest arriving after her what kind of energy the night was going to demand. And instead, that opportunity was spent on a dress that could have shown up at literally any red carpet event on the calendar without raising a single eyebrow. So for this look, it's a flop for me. At number 7, we have Kim Kardashian. And for the Met Gala 2026, she had on a custom fiberglass breastplate created by British pop artist Alan Jones, paired with a handcrafted leather skirt by Whitaker Mellum, finished with orange brushstrokes painted directly by Jones himself. Now this is one of the more genuinely artistic concepts on the list, an actual collaboration with a fine artist, real sculptural craftsmanship. But sitting next to her sisters in a similarly sculpted, similarly rigid silhouette, this look ended up feeling like more of the same from a family that has leaned on this exact sculptural body-conscious aesthetic for several Met Galas running now. The breastplate itself was a genuine artistic statement, but the overall silhouette read as subdued, almost restrained, for a woman who usually brings maximum impact to this carpet. It was interesting in theory, but on the body, on the night, it just did not quite land the way it should have. Kim has built her entire Met Gala legacy on delivering the single most talked about look of the night, year after year. And while there is real artistic value in this fiberglass and leather collaboration, it simply did not generate the same seismic reaction her looks usually do. When your own personal bar is set that high, even a genuinely thoughtful, well-crafted look can end up feeling like a step down by comparison. The orange brushstrokes painted directly by Jones onto the leather skirt were a nice personal touch that tied the whole concept together narratively, but visually, from a distance, they just did not translate into the kind of statement that stops the internet in its tracks, the way her past looks so reliably have. So, for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 6, we have Philippine Leroy Beaulieu. And for the Cannes Film Festival 2026, she had on this statement ruffled gown by Yves Saint Laurent, featuring long, exaggerated sleeves, a puffed semi-sheer skirt, and a dramatic cape-style train. Now, on a taller, larger-framed woman, this dress might have genuinely worked. There is real drama here, real volume, real couture ambition. But on her, the sheer scale of the ruffling and the sleeves completely overwhelmed her petite frame, swallowing her whole and leaving very little visible beyond fabric. A great gown should work with your proportions, not fight against them. And this one, unfortunately, was fighting a battle it was never going to win. The fuchsia color was gorgeous, genuinely one of the better shades on this entire list, but the sheer volume of the garment made that color almost impossible to appreciate properly. A more tailored version of this exact same dress, with the sleeves scaled down and the cape shortened just slightly, likely would have been a genuine best-dressed contender, because the bones of a great look are all here. Instead, we got a case study in how too much volume can bury even the most beautiful color in the room. So for this look, it's a flop for me. At number 5, we have Simone Ashley. And for the Cannes Film Festival 2026, she had on a low-key gown by Totem. Now, we know that style is relative, and not every red carpet look needs to be a maximalist statement. But this dress crossed the line from understated into what a lot of critics called the single most low-effort outfit of the entire festival. There were visible wrinkles across the fabric. There was a visible undergarment line that should have been caught in a fitting. This is the kind of dress you might reach for on a lazy Sunday at home, not the kind of dress you bring to one of the most prestigious film festivals on the planet. Simone is a genuinely beautiful woman, and even great looks have limits when the garment itself just was not prepared properly for the moment. This is one of those cases where the issue really has nothing to do with taste or style at all. It comes down to basic preparation, steaming a dress, checking the fit under the lights, making sure nothing underneath is visible on camera. Those are the fundamentals of red carpet dressing, and when they slip, even a genuinely lovely piece of clothing ends up looking like an afterthought. So for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 4, we have Sarah Pidgeon, making her second appearance on this list, this time for the 2026 Actor Awards. And for this event, she had on a strapless pink dress with a shapeless torso and a strange, cinched waist detail. Now this year, thanks to her role portraying the late Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, Sarah's personal style has been under a magnifying glass, with fans hoping to see some of that same iconic minimalism translate to her own red carpet choices. This dress, unfortunately, did the opposite. The strapless bodice sat awkwardly across her frame, offering no real shape or support, and the cinching at the waist created an odd, almost bunched effect rather than a flattering silhouette. She was widely named the absolute worst-dressed star of that entire ceremony, and having seen the photos myself, it is not hard to understand why. The color itself was not the problem. A soft pink is a completely reasonable choice for this kind of event, but the actual construction of the garment let her down at every single turn, from the strapless top that offered no real support, to a cinched waist detail that created bunching rather than definition, to a proportion overall that felt more thrown together than tailored. So, for this look, it's a flop for me. At number 3, we have Bella Hadid. And for the Cannes Film Festival 2026, at the premiere of Garance, she had on a gray gown by Prada. Now, Bella Hadid rarely misses on a red carpet, which is exactly what makes this one so surprising. The bodice and the waist of this dress looked genuinely ill-fitting, pulling in strange places and creating a stiff, structured quality that did not move naturally with her body. And then there is the train, which felt almost entirely disconnected from the rest of the garment, tacked on rather than integrated into the overall design. Critics compared this look to something an overbearing mother of the groom might wear to a wedding, desperate to upstage everyone else in the room. And once that comparison is in your head, it is genuinely hard to shake. This one might go down as one of the more outdated looks of Bella's entire career. And for a woman with her track record, that is really saying something. Cannes has always been her carpet, the place where she consistently delivers one incredible fashion moment after another, year after year, which is exactly why a gray, stiff, structurally confused gown from her felt like such a genuine shock to the system. Even her styling, usually so precise and considered, felt slightly off this time, like nobody in the room fully trusted the dress to carry itself. And that lack of confidence in the garment translated directly into how she carried herself down the carpet that night, more careful and stiff than her usual effortless glide. So, for this one, it's a flop for me. At number 2, we have Demi Moore. And for the Oscars 2026, where she arrived as a presenter, she had on a dramatic floor-length custom gown by Gucci, covered head to toe in layered iridescent green and black feathers. Now, I understand the appeal of a big feathered moment, and in isolation, the color and texture combination here was genuinely striking, giving off this mythical, almost creature-like energy. But the sheer volume of feathers, especially concentrated around that oversized neckline, completely overwhelmed her. What could have been a dramatic, sculptural statement instead tipped over into something that felt more costume than couture. It is the kind of dress you admire from a distance in a single photograph, and then the second you see her actually moving in it on video, the whole illusion falls apart. For one of the biggest fashion misses of the entire Oscars ceremony, coming from a woman who usually delivers on this carpet, this one genuinely stings. Demi has had such a remarkable run of red carpet moments over the past few years, reclaiming her place as one of the most exciting women to watch step out of a car onto any carpet in the world, which makes a miss of this size feel even more jarring by comparison. The neckline in particular was the breaking point, so thick with feathers that it created an almost mane-like effect around her face and shoulders, throwing off the entire balance of the gown beneath it, and making it genuinely difficult to tell where the feathers ended and where the actual structure of the dress began. So for this one, it's a flop for me. And finally, at number 1, the single worst-dressed look of the first half of 2026, we have Kristen Stewart. And for the Cannes Film Festival 2026, at the screening of her film Fulfill, she had on a red and black see-through crocheted dress from Chanel's Fall 2026 collection, paired with high-top Converse sneakers. Now I need to set the scene here because this dress did not just miss the mark stylistically, it actually violated several of the Cannes Film Festival's strict dress code rules, including restrictions around see-through attire and traditional red carpet footwear. The crocheted mesh texture, which revealed her undergarments beneath, read as completely unfinished on one of the most prestigious red carpets in the world, and pairing it with casual black sneakers only reinforced just how far off the mark this choice really was for a formal premiere. Online, the reactions were brutal and honestly, kind of hilarious, with people comparing it to something someone's grandmother might have knitted and left forgotten in an attic for decades. Others calling it full-on Spider-Man energy, and more than one person straight up asking if she wore this dress because she lost a bet. And once you look at the photos yourself, it is genuinely hard to argue with any of them. Kristen Stewart has never been afraid to buck convention on a red carpet, and normally I respect that about her completely, because red carpet fashion needs people willing to push boundaries and take genuine risks. Otherwise, every single carpet would look exactly the same. But there is a meaningful difference between a calculated risk that challenges expectations and a look that seems to actively work against the very event it is being worn to. And this one falls firmly into the second category. When your dress is breaking the actual rules of the festival you're attending and drawing comparisons to grandma's craft projects instead of high fashion, that is not boundary pushing anymore. That is simply a miscalculation, plain and simple. This one was not a fashion risk, it was a fashion foul, and it earned its spot as the single worst-dressed look of the entire first half of 2026, sneakers and all. So, for this look, it is an absolute, undeniable flop for me. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of today's list. We covered the Golden Globes, the Grammys, the Oscars, the Met Gala, and Cannes. And somehow, out of all of those glittering, glamorous nights, these were the 30 looks that just did not get it right. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, first of all, I am genuinely impressed, and second of all, I need you to do 3 things for me right now. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Drop a comment telling me which look on this list you disagreed with the most, because I know some of you are going to have thoughts, and give this video a thumbs up so I know to keep bringing you these red carpet breakdowns. We still have the second half of 2026 ahead of us, which means award season, more red carpets, and inevitably more fashion disasters just waiting to happen. So make sure you are subscribed because you are not going to want to miss it. Before I let you go, I do want to say one more time, this list comes from a place of love for fashion, not a place of cruelty toward any of these women. Every single person on this list is talented, successful, and on plenty of other nights, absolutely nailed their red carpet moment. Fashion is subjective. It is a game of huge risks and even bigger rewards, and sometimes those risks just do not pay off the way anyone hoped they would. That is exactly what makes red carpet season so fun to cover in the first place. The fact that even the most polished, most well-resourced women in the world can still walk out of a fitting room thinking they nailed it, only for the internet to have a very different opinion by the next morning. That unpredictability is the whole appeal, and it is exactly why we will be right back here doing this again the moment award season kicks back into gear. We have already got Emmys, more premieres, and eventually a whole new Golden Globe cycle waiting for us before this year is out, and you can bet I will be right here breaking every single one of those looks down for you, the good, the bad, and the truly unforgettable. Thank you so much for watching this entire list from start to finish. I know it was a long one, and I genuinely appreciate every single one of you who stuck around all the way to the end. Make sure that subscribe button is smashed, drop your thoughts down in the comments, and I will see you in the very next video. Until then, bye for now.